Especially when you're newly married, this is going to be a process and a journey. It takes 7 years to go from me to we. Yeah. So therefore, it's going to take different adjustments along the way to have the healthy relationship you desire with your in-laws. What comes to your mind when you hear the word in-laws?
Ooh, fear.
I wasn't literally
excitement.
asking.
Yeah, oh, sorry.
So maybe you're stuck between wanting to please your in-laws, or maybe you're wanting to push away and have your own space.
Yeah, Erin and I have noticed that we can really fall into a trap of buying into 3 lies around our in-laws. So Erin and I want to talk about that. What are those lies? And then what are the truths? Because we really want to see you honor God. We want you to honor your in-laws, and we want you to honor you within your in-law relationships. But first, don't forget to subscribe. We create weekly videos to help you and your marriage thrive in Christ.
So lie number 1, we need to accept all unsolicited advice from our in-laws.
Right. Whatever they say, just do it. Just accept that advice. And that's the lie. That's not one honoring to you or really to your relationship with them. And I know for us, it was a matter of learning. I mean, remember, Erin and I have been married 33 years. In the beginning of our marriage, it was so tempting to whatever our parents, whatever they were encouraging us or whatever feedback they had, especially when we had children, just to accept that, to do that, to try to walk that out. And that would create tension and issues between me and Erin. All of a sudden, we would be in an argument versus really learning that just because they say it, that doesn't make it truth.
And so what does it look like to set a loving, kind boundary, sharing your thoughts, your feelings in a way that's honoring to you, the marriage, and the in-laws?
You know, for me, what was so helpful back then is that I had to finally get to a place to remember that, hey, as an adult, so young adults, I mean, we were married in our early 20s, but as an adult, we were actually the decision makers. And I know that that's like, duh, but I'm telling you, because of our family systems, because it's so easy when we go back to see family or we're around family, like we jump back into those old roles. We laugh at holidays. Like if we were going to Erin's, home that she grew up in, I mean, here my beautiful, strong, just capable wife would look very different. That I'd be so confused. I'm like, who are you?
Well, and I would always laugh because the minute we would walk through the door at Greg's parents' house, same thing would happen. And it's recognizing we were newlyweds, and so we were young adults. So absolutely, in-laws have some wisdom to offer, but there's a difference between accepting what they have to say always versus having a two-way conversation of really trying to understand, as well as asking for their feedback and their advice. Often they have great things to say, but that doesn't mean that's what you do.
Well, for me, I would get in these stupid power struggles, like if my dad or my mom's, giving some feedback, some advice. Again, I was acting as if they were the decision maker, so then I needed to argue every point and explain why that's not true, or here's what we want to do. And then simply going, no, wait, it's true, I'm the decision maker here. What it did is it freed me up just to be a good listener. They're offering feedback. All I ever have to do is to listen, seek to understand, and then I'm going to take that to you. I'm going to take that to the Lord. We're going to pray about that. We're going to talk about it, and then we'll make that decision. It removed the power struggle that we were getting into with our in-laws. And just that simple little tweak.
The power struggle between us.
Yeah.
Because so often the in-law stuff would become a battle between the two of us.
Yeah. So again, you're the decision maker. That's the truth. The truth is that they have feedback. Listen to that. Don't argue about it. Just be a good listener. Take that to the Lord. Figure that out together, and you'll get there.
So remember, the lie is we need to accept all unsolicited advice from our in-laws. And the truth is we can ask for feedback, we can listen to feedback, but ultimately we are the decision makers.
So lie number 2, that we need to allow our in-laws to be involved in anything and everything that they want. And the problem is that if that's the truth, that they can be involved in anything and everything that they want, we end up getting left out of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just now about what they want. And as we get left out, that's going to create resentment and frustration. It's going to create power struggles, and it's going to impact our relationship with them in hard, difficult ways.
Mm-hmm. The truth is, boundaries are healthy. Setting a boundary actually helps us keep our heart open. And in the relationship with in-laws, it helps us keep our heart open to in-laws. So setting boundaries is really setting the expectation of what we want the relationship to look like. And we matter in that relationship as well.
Yeah, and the key in all of this is to communicate. The worst thing that we can do is even set a boundary and not say anything to them, or hear about maybe something that they want to be involved in and not talk that through. We can't make our in-laws come to us ahead of time to have those conversations, but we're always training people on how to treat us. And so the more that we can help them understand that, let's talk through this stuff. Hey, if you're wanting to be involved in something, let us know. Let's talk about this. Let's figure this out in a way that feels good to all of us. But at the end of the day, Erin and I still need to be the decision makers. We still need to decide what we're comfortable about letting them do or not do. I know that my dad, he passed away a number of years ago, but he loved to come over and see us. They were really close in our neighborhood. And so remember, he just loved to be around us. I mean, you know us. I mean, who could blame him for wanting to be around me? I mean, really.
Especially in the morning. He would show up super early and just walk into our house and make himself comfortable, which honestly, I didn't mind.
You'd come down and you'd be like, oh,
yeah.
Hey.
I didn't mind him coming over to our house, but what I did mind is that there was never a pre-warning.
Yeah.
So he would just walk in, and I finally had to say, hey, I love you coming over, but would you mind ringing the doorbell so we know you're entering? So someone's not streaking from upstairs, downstairs to the laundry room. Just so
we
can.
That would be me. I'm the streaker.
Just setting an expectation. And even when we set those boundaries, sometimes our in-laws might not like it, but that doesn't matter. What matters is you reinforce the boundary and communicate the expectation clearly so they can understand what it is you're wanting. I know as a mother-in-law, I would much rather know what my kids need from me or want from me versus what I want, because they matter. I want a healthy two-way relationship with all of our adult kids as well as their spouses.
Now, let me tweak one thing that you said.
Uh-oh.
Because I know you and I have talked about this. I would always prefer that whoever's family it is that we're talking about,
I would agree with that.
That like if it was my dad, I need to be the one to communicate the boundary.
The biological child.
Right.
Yes.
Because otherwise, because I know, and you did that. I mean, you were actually telling the story accurately, but it would have been something that I would have preferred to not put you into that position and say, hey, what do you need that boundary to look like? Let's talk about that. And then let me communicate that with my dad. So as you guys talk through boundaries, just make that the rule. Who's ever parents it is, let that person communicate those rules. You can't do it like, well, hey, Dad, Erin, she didn't really like it when you come over, and it's really weird and kind of creepy even that you're just in the house and she comes. Like, do that in a way that protects your spouse and conveys, though, ultimately what you guys have talked through.
So lie number 2 is in-laws must be involved in anything that they want. And the truth is, as we've talked about, boundaries are healthy. Boundaries are going to protect the relationship.
You heard Erin and I talk a lot about this idea of really functioning as a strong team. And probably one of the best ways that we can strengthen our teamwork together is by taking the marriage assessment. This is a free assessment. It's going to show you what you're doing really well in your marriage. So it's going to highlight some strengths. So keep doing that and make sure that you pour energy and effort into continuing those healthy behaviors. But it's also going to show you some growth areas. These are things, maybe conflict or communication or time together, whatever. that this is where we can really focus in on building our teamwork by learning from that assessment. It's, again, free, such an easy thing to take. You're going to get a nice report. It's going to walk you through all of it. And at the end of the day, you're going to go, boy, here's the one thing then that we're going to focus in on maybe over the next few months and really grow our team stronger in. And we'll go ahead and link that below.
So lie number 3, we must accept all controlling and manipulative behavior.
Wow.
The truth
deep.
is very opposite of that. Actually, recognizing when there is controlling and manipulative behavior, oftentimes the best thing we can do is set some firm boundaries and step further away. That can be hard because your in-laws are your spouse's parents. However, it doesn't mean that all in-laws are showing up in healthy ways. And so as you delve into that, recognize you and your spouse are on the same team. And sometimes your team needs to be protected. And that might mean going in and seeking wisdom from a licensed Christian counselor or a mentor or a pastor. So it's exploring, what do we want this to look like?
And even how you and I then would communicate through if there was controlling or manipulative behavior. And again, that's our perception, so it doesn't mean that's exactly what they were doing. But if we're feeling that, it's easy then to say, what is the deal with your mom, your dad? What are they doing? They're they're controlling us, they're manipulating us. It's easy to kind of turn that into now me against you. That's your parents, your fault. What are you going to do about it? And it's easy to get divided around that. And I love in the Bible where it talks about a house divided will fall. So first and foremost, recognize the spiritual warfare part of this. Satan preys on these opportunities to try to drive a wedge even further between you and your spouse. So just call it out and just say, hey, you know what? Wait a minute. You're my person. You're my teammate. And let's figure this out in a way that feels good to both of us. Because you guys, when we're talking about our spouse's parents, so our in-laws, it's just you're creating. Those are hard, difficult conversations. I mean, there's loyalty issues. I remember early on in our marriage, you would want to talk about some behavior that my parents were doing, and I just had this pull to defend them. And it takes, Erin and I've shared this before, it takes at least 7 to 14 years for a couple to go from me as an individual to really functioning as a we. So even how Erin and I handle in-laws now, 33 years later, very differently than in the beginning. So just know there's that pull to protect and be loyal to family. You're going to have to fight through that. And that's why I love your idea about, man, do you have that conversation with a counselor?
Yeah. And sometimes we can even take the in-law behaviors personally. And sometimes it has nothing to do with us. Sometimes it's more about a personality quirk, flaw, something going on. Maybe it's their own issue around the adjustment in the relationship with their son or daughter getting married, an addiction. We don't know what was their relationship like with their in-laws. So it's exploring all of that and recognizing it may not be about you, but it's impacting you and impacting the marriage. So where are the appropriate boundaries that need to be put in place? Sometimes the best way to love someone is with some distance. And for a season, it may be that the boundary is we need to step back a little bit. So it's exploring all of that between you and your spouse as well as with a counselor.
That just doesn't sound biblical, Erin. So it says that we were to love and honor our mother and father.
You are not going to say that.
Because I think that's the temptation, is that we hear that verse and we translate that into then closeness in relationship. And so I'm just saying I agree with you, but it's hard to understand that sometimes the most loving thing that we can do is to create even some space and distance within a relationship. God is calling us to honor our mother and father. And honor can look like saying, instead of me allowing my heart to harden within this relationship, I'm going to set a boundary. I'm going to pull back. I still love you. I'm going to work on keeping my heart open. See, that's loving. There's nothing that in the honor your mother and father that implies therefore you have to be in close relationship with them. That's not true. That's a
Right.
part of that lie.
Right. So let me just summarize. Lie number 3, we must accept all manipulative or controlling behaviors. And the truth is, no. We get to decide what that relationship looks like. Boundaries are appropriate, and it may mean stepping back a bit. It may mean going in and talking to a licensed Christian counselor to explore what does this relationship need to look like in this season, because season to season, it can change. As you set boundaries, it actually gives hope for a healthier relationship with your in-laws. So remember, ultimately, you and your spouse are on the same team. So we encourage you, when it comes to in-laws, sit down and have a conversation. I would say even regularly, going, how are things going? Especially when you're newly married, this is going to be a process and a journey. Like Greg said earlier, it takes 7 years to go from me to we.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's going to take different adjustments along the way to have the healthy relationship you desire with your in-laws.
You know, I love when we would go or for vacations or holidays or just spending time with our family, we got into a great habit of asking each other, depending on whose family we were going to. So if we were going to see Erin's family, I would ask her, Erin, while we're there, how can I best be your wingman? And you would do the same for me when we were going to see my family. And what that does is that I love the thinking around that Erin's able to say, hey, if my dad engages me in this sort of conversation, please jump in. Please just say, oh, Erin and I need to go, whatever. We've got to go run to the store or something. But we would be really intentional to talk about, how do we best support each other? How can I be your wingman, your wing woman on your side? How can we really do that the best? And that always kept our teammate, our teamwork front and center. Again, you're honoring your father and mother on both sides, which means that we're going to love you by keeping our hearts open. That may require boundaries. We're going to keep talking. We'll discuss these things. We're the decision makers. And so we'll listen to feedback without having to power struggle through that. All of that designed to keep hearts open, because I think that at the end of the day is what God's calling us to do within our in-laws, extended family relationship. See, he wants our hearts open so he can love through us in whatever way that's going to look.
So on a side note, there's something called toxic family systems. This is where each individual is placed in a role, and especially then when those roles are shifted through marriage or through a death in the family, it can cause a lot of pain. And so if you are in one of those roles, either the scapegoat, the black sheep, and you're really feeling the impact of the family system, this is a common thing that often is not identified and talked about. So I encourage you, if you're finding yourself going, yeah, something's not right, go in and talk to somebody, a licensed Christian counselor, because they can help you navigate a toxic family system.
Yeah, versus just simply going online, going to AI, typing that in, seeing what these definitions are. I mean, it's great as a beginning place just to start to go, okay, yeah, maybe what's going on, but ultimately go in, like you were saying, and have that conversation with a good Christian licensed counselor to help you really figure this out and figure out where you want to go or what boundaries are important to put in place. Well, if you found this information helpful, go ahead and like the video. Don't forget to subscribe. We have weekly videos to help you and your spouse thrive in Christ.